Alright guys, so what I'm going to do in this video is really explain the supply line aspect of this game. Basically, you're trading between settlements. It's nighttime, and I apologize. There were a bunch of guys around here earlier, so that's Hancock. So take this guy for example. I can take him, and if I hit R1 on the PS4 that I'm on, it's going to enact a supply line. So if I click that, I can send this guy. He happens to be the Vault-Tec rep that I rescued from, I don't even remember where I got him from. But anyway, Hangman's Alley, I can move him to different towns. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, as you can see in my screen right now, I am in Sanctuary, and I have 29 food. I only have 19 people, so I have a surplus of 10 food in this town. Sanctuary is an excellent town for crops because, as you can see, there is a lot of room in between these houses for food. Here's my food supply. I've got a lot of carrots growing out front here. I've got some razor grain. I've got a lot of mut fruit. I've got a lot of room for crops. There's a ton of melon and all that kind of stuff. A lot of room for crops. Now, another settlement, for example, like Hangman's Alley, there is no really great, there's no land to grow food, so I have to take a supply line to supply those folks there. Now when I do that, when I select that settler and I want to do a supply line, know that you lose that settler from this town because they're constantly going to going back and forth between the town. Now you share okay, there's a Brahmin on the roof here. Oh, Bethesda, you never cease to amaze me. Lost my train of thought because of that. Okay, so you have extra food. So I'm going to be moving food from one settlement to another. Now, another great thing about supply lines is all the stuff inside of my workshop here. So all my aluminum, all my steel, all that kind of stuff. It actually basically gets put in both towns. So if I have a supply line from Sanctuary to Hangman's Alley like I now have, let's say I had 600 steel in Sanctuary, I can now share those resources between the two. I don't have to physically move those assets. Just the supply line carries them to and from. Another thing that I found that was really interesting about these supply lines is your settlers, while on these supply lines, they don't die. They can't die when being attacked. They can be knocked out, like your companions get knocked out, but then they immediately get back up. So kind of like the Chumbawamba song, right? I get knocked down, but I get up again. So they have so they're going to go basically trade resources. They're going to share the resources in the warehouse, your aluminum, your steel, and things like that. They can't die. I usually give them like a pistol, a little bit better gear than what they have, some armor, just to make sure that their trip isn't that bad. Basically, I've never had any real issues. Like I said, they can't die, so that's a good part. So you share resources. That's kind of the main thing because I hate scrapping all the stuff that I find, all these alarm clocks and things like that, and it's much easier to do that. Now, on your Pip-Boy, you can actually, on the PS4, it's going to be L1, and you can see your supply lines. Now, I have a couple coming from Sanctuary, and they are going to these very quick little towns here, and then from this town I can go, I basically have them all over from the castle, so there's a lot of supply line things that I can move. So like I said, I have a lot of excess food that can go to these towns. Eventually I'm going to make a lot more food in here because I need a lot more food, and Hangman's Alley, like I said, is just, it's just terrible. You can't grow any food in the place. I'm actually a lot of times moving the settlers to another town because of that. So I hope this was kind of helpful. This is just just the basics. Supply lines are very beneficial. What I've really found, just to kind of summarize, is basically you can move excess food if you have a lot more room in a town, so you can move that food to another settlement. You move purified water, things like that. And then it's also really nice to move your aluminum, your steel, your crafting materials. You basically now share between the two settlements. They don't disappear. You basically just share them, and you have the same amount. So if you had 600 steel in Sanctuary, you have 600 steel between the two that you have a supply line with. So it's really good for crafting. Hope this was helpful, and that'll be all for this broadcast.